3, 2, 1, and go. Good morning, everyone. Let's check if we've got... Right, I hope everyone can hear everything. Welcome to the first in a series of LoRaWAN focused webinars from Forest Rock and Wattsense. So my name is Mike. With me, I've got one of my colleagues from Forest Rock. He is Shreyans. So he's one of our LoRaWAN engineers. And we've also got with us our friends from Wattsense. So we've got Antoine.
Good morning.
And we've also got Anna, and we've got Brianna as well. So they've offered to join us on here, give a great demo, and walk us through the probably the best LoRaWAN gateway on the market. So we're quite excited to have them here with us. So this platform that we're using, you will see a questions tab on the left of the chat. Feel free to use that to ask any questions that you have during the webinar itself as we go through our content, and we will answer them at the end. That's what we've got our clever people here for. And I think that's enough of housekeeping. So welcome. I really hope you're all having quite a slow Wednesday morning, and you'll enjoy 30 minutes of talking about wireless protocols. Because over here at Forest Rock, we've been quite excited by the capabilities of LoRaWAN, but the tech is flying a little bit under the radar, we feel, and not just because of the short wavelength. And we thought it'd be nice to talk about how it's being applied, where it could be applied, and hopefully leave you all with a slightly deeper understanding of the tech, and ideally, spark a little bit of imagination regarding, where and how you're going to deploy it and how you're going to do cool things with it. So today we're applying this to talking about facilities management. Now, the reason why we're talking about that is it's an industry that's currently exploding with new tech. It's undergoing a massive digital transformation, and there's really two tenets why that is. Part of it is data science and huge analytics. The other one is IoT, which is what we do. So we thought, well, perfect. We've had quite a few clients of ours use LoRaWAN in facilities management. And I think it's a great case study to show how it's already being used to, deliver better solutions and give us better facilities. So we've recently, as some of you might know, Forest Rock, we are based on a university. And we've actually sold quite a few things to the university here in the UK, both software and hardware, and as well as consultancy services. So let's say one of your customers has a campus, one of your end users, your clients. And what that really is a very broad set of responsibilities over a very complex system. So you've got multiple buildings, multiple spaces, an entire estate that is very dynamic, very alive. And with the BMS space, which is what we're all active in, our job is to assure them that everything is fine. Our tech, ultimately, it controls, it connects, but the monitoring aspect of it is just to tell them that there are no fires to put out, literal and metaphorical, but you can see that your end client is going to be happy. You are not going to be getting any distressed phone calls. Now, we do that with the classic, we give them controllers, we give them very pretty graphics, but an area that's been a huge growth area is more and more sensors to monitor not just what the BMS is controlling, but really give a deeper insight into effectively what's going on the ground. How are your occupants, how are your end users experiencing the facilities that we are controlling and we are enabling our customers to control. So now that IAQ is such a massive issue and customers have ever greater expectations of, I want to ensure my customers that the air quality is fine, the CO2 is sufficiently low, their temperatures are controlled throughout each room. It becomes quite daunting to connect all these large multi-building spaces using traditional means. The engineers among you might already be trying to judge, we've got 3 floors here, I probably need to pull cables through here, and how many controllers will I need? And it becomes a giant job. The deployment and the integration into the existing systems for such a retrofit project, but it becomes almost unwieldy to deploy large-scale monitoring with wired traditional points. So it's no surprise then that we've been promised wireless solutions for a long time, and all of these have succeeded in one way or another, but none of them have been able to really replace, in the BMS context, the wired solution. So it was always just a cost on top of what you needed to wire things in the traditional way, and therefore the solution just ballooned in cost. But I think we've arrived at quite an exciting point technologically where we are ready for that. And when Forest Rock first encountered LoRaWAN a year or 2 ago, we got really excited about it, and we've been testing it, and we've been writing integrations, and we've been making these solutions possible for our clients for a while. But we're really reaching a tipping point where our customers are coming back to us and saying, we've hit a point where we're happy with this as our primary wireless method of communication, as a primary method of deploying sensors and deploying devices in a far greater scale. So LoRaWAN is a way to make all that secure, interoperable, and reliable, which, great, we all want those things, but what is it actually? Well, it's a set of rules. The LoRaWAN specification is what makes the LoRa bandwidth secure, interoperable, and reliable. If we look at the schematics for the protocol itself, we can see that quite a lot of work has been done by the LoRa Alliance to take what was a niche radio frequency bandwidth and turn it into something that can be deployed as a private network. So we've got in that blue box, you can see that's the physical radio. Everything on top of that is what makes these devices talk to each other in a really, really configurable way. So for us in a BMS space, this is what we really like to see, because this means that we can integrate LoRaWAN into our BMS of choice, which should be Niagara, by the way, through BACnet, and discover the point as if it was a traditional solution. And that really allows us to not alter fundamentally how we deploy our control systems and our control strategies, but we can rethink how we handle smaller devices, that we now have the ability to deploy a huge scale of sensors and of small devices across existing buildings. So now, what does this actually mean for facilities? If we can go back to our example of a campus, of a school campus, when we're approaching speccing out a solution like this, we first need fundamentals, right? Is there a network on these premises? Where is the network on these premises? Where are the cables pulled? where could I install my panel? How will I be able to connect all of this into a single system? Will I even be able to connect all this into a single system? And even if we focus in on a single building, we still see that if we put our controller in one space of it, we have to wire in the sensors through conduit. You're thinking about everything from is there a wall in between? What's the physical distance? How many man hours will I need to engineer all this? And that becomes a task in and of itself, but it also means a series of compromises. If your customer is quite set on this section of the building is important to me, I'd like this monitored better. Oh, but it's far from the controller, and then I'll have to I have to go to 3 walls and then down the floor to do this. And do I need to get a second controller? And either the solution starts to balloon in cost, or you are giving your customer a little bit less than what they would really like, and then you're using proxies. And the sensors that we used to have deployed, you'd get 2 or 3 per large space. If you were lucky, maybe a couple of floor. And that really gives you an image of what's going on if there's on a big scale, but it doesn't give you the real visibility over how most occupants are experiencing the space. Well, this is why if you use a LoRaWAN solution, you can go to your customer and pitch them endless configurability, because the installation of a private LoRaWAN network means that you've got not meters of range like with previous wireless protocols, but you've got miles of range. And the sometimes the thought that LoRaWAN's a line of sight protocol is a line of sight protocol going 10 miles. So for a building to building communication, it will go through these walls. And the deployment of these things on double-sided tape or a screw on a wall takes so much less time that at the same cost level as you would be able to deploy far smaller scope, you are now able to deliver your end customers a very granular visibility structure for their estate. It means more than that though, because when we get a wireless network, we can do things that were simply not possible or not practical to do with wired systems. If you've got a little greenhouse outside of your building, you can monitor that through the same wireless network that you've got inside the building because of LoRaWAN's range, because of the throughput on these gateways and on the devices, but also because, well, you've already got the network, so you can it's just the cost of the sensor really, and about an hour to install a whole handful of them. So it really means that our end users can enjoy a different experience that up until now was not available to them, where they've got the freedom to have their team be in complete control over their estate. And this obviously got us very excited, because not only is it a fun piece of tech for our engineers to play with, but it's also a very different pitch to hand over to our customers to go talk to their customers, that the same project now can control an order of magnitude more and can pull data in from an order of magnitude more devices. So this sounds like a wonderful world to live in, but we actually need something to enable all this. And this is where our friends from Wattsense come in, because this is the gateway that we have been promoting. This is the gateway that we believe in, is the way to actually make LoRaWAN work, to make it configurable, and to integrate it flawlessly within our BMS system. So Antoine, without too much ado, I'd like to hand over to you, and you can show our audience exactly how this solution works.
Yes, with pleasure. Thank you for that. Good morning again from my side. I'm Antoine, working for Wattsense for 2 months now as a account executive, and I have the chance to work with our premium partner Forest Rock. So that's the reason why I'm here. And I will spend some minutes to explain you how our solution is working and how we can help you in different situation in BMS. I will share my screen. Yes, so Wattsense, who are we? Finally, we are definitely a simple and open connectivity solution to control and monitor your building. We are an enabler for the connectivity, finally. Just a few words about the company. We have been founded in 2017. We are now 30 team members in the company. We are based in Lyon, in France, as you can hear with my very beautiful accent. And we have been acquired by Siemens in 2021. That's some figures important for the company. What are we doing and what is our mission? Our mission is to make the BMS easy, avoiding spend too much money and too much time to make connectivity in your building. To do that, we have two different solutions based on the same hardware. So you can change from one to another, even remotely, if you have some needs, some change on your needs. So that's something could be interesting if you have some evolution in your installation. I will go into detail just afterward. As I said, we are a multi-protocol gateway, again, enabling you to connect all the data important to manage your building. So regarding the field bus we are working with, we have Modbus, MBus, naturally LoRaWAN. This is the topics of today. KNX, BATnet, LPB, Diametic and LOM. So let's jump to a live demo. This is the console. Okay, I have a thumbs up regarding the screen sharing. That's okay. So this is the console.wattsense.com. This is the cockpit allowing you to manage all the installation. You will have a view of all the devices you have in your organization. So I will show you how easy it is to make a configuration. Here you can see it's a demo box with already two equipments connected in LoRaWAN and one in LPB, which is a RVL from Siemens. If you want to add one equipment to this box, you click on Add Equipment. You have three solutions proposed to you: Advanced Mode, Bulk Creation, if you have a huge number of sensors to add, and the Configuration Wizards. because it's magic. In the wizard, you have three, again, ways to work. Do a scan of BACnet or MBus, or just select the equipment you will use. This is the main important features of Wattsense solution. We already decoded 7,000 equipments in our database. Talking about decoded, I will show you how it looks like. For example, for an NKI sensors, here you just have to type on the search bar the name of your equipment and you select it. For example, temperature and humidity. Here you select the protocol, LoRaWAN, and you have to fulfill the dev EUE app and app key. Normally, yeah, you have it in. Normally, you should find this information on the sensors, on manufacturer software or something like that, but it's quite easy to find. And then you click on next, and you have all the information that you can read just in tick mode. For example, here you just want to have the temperature, you click on it. You want the relative humidity, you click on it. You save it. You push it on the box or on the hub, and that's it. It took me 2 minutes to do it without any big action on site. I can do it remotely, and then you can have all the live data out of these sensors. I did not connect really the captor, it's just for the demo, but here you can see the live data from my sensor, already connected to the box. We can manage as well some alarms that you can easily set. For example, when you have a value out of a range, for example, the temperature, if you have a temperature below 15 and above 25 degrees, you can set an alarm. And then you have here all the data you are monitoring and the alarm zone. You can also, this is the alarm that I set on my box. I can also set and watch the alarms for my whole organization. The alarm management is interesting if you want to send some email or some message to a mobile phone to someone that could be on site or that is useful to inform regarding one or another data. So we can also have some graph out of all the data running through the device, and set also some dashboard with the box. Regarding the use case we are talking about here, the main features used here by Forest Rock is to convert LoRaWAN into another field bus, and this is exactly the same way to work. It's easy to do. You just have to go again in configuration, gateway, create the new gateway, name it, and choose the protocol you want to use. And you can convert the data into BACnet IP, Modbus IP, or MQTT in this way, and then all the data could be used in your own organization. Here you can see the map of the devices connected to my organization, and you can also have some views here of what is going on the devices into your organization. The hub view is quite the same, but you only have the configuration, archives, and logs, and not the live data and the dashboard. That's it for the demo for now. If you have any other question or things you want to see in the demo, please just ask. It would be a pleasure to show you.
Antoine, thank you very much for that. So as you guys saw, that was it for adding a device to your gateway, to your hub. And it takes another couple of minutes to get your hub talking to your controller. So where Shreyanse has been connecting the gateways to JACEs, for example, and this is the same device that Antoine was adding. I've just plucked it off the wall of our office just before we started this webinar. And this is a live NKE device that's currently still sending data. And as you can see that within what was the last 5 minutes, we were able to take a device just like this, add it to the LoRaWAN gateway, convert that into a point. In this case, it would have been a BACnet point that gets automatically discovered by your, in this, we're using, we're a Tritium house, so that gets discovered by Niagara. And this is a wireless, completely wireless device that has years of battery life that you go and stick on wherever wall you need to, and any spot that you want monitored takes another 5 minutes to add. So I think this will be a nice little segue to talk about a university, specifically our university. So for a brief intro, as Forest Rock, we supply the UK automation industry with the right tech for their projects. That's what we do, and to do that, we decided to base our head office on Loughborough University's Science and Enterprise campus. Now, this means we are in this very big building here that you can see. We are in the top right corner. You can see a little Forest Rock pin there. And this building houses a battery manufacturer. This building houses a plastic recycling laboratory across the entire ground floor of it. So it's what you would call an industrial and very dense environment. And it was also one where visibility and sensing was really important, especially things like natural gas sensing, carbon dioxide, temperatures. Because if something is off in this building, they need to rush here. So knowing that we are sitting right on top of that, we decided to work with the university to give them the right kit in order to deploy a LoRaWAN system in this building. And through the LoRaWAN gateways, they were able to deploy a far more granular solution inside of including actually our office, which is what we've got a screenshot of right here. This is the BMS controller. This is the console for the Forest Rock head office. And you can see right in the center of it, somewhere here, you've got a label called T67. That used to be the only temperature. That used to be the only sensor in this office. And it's not the smallest of offices. We are currently right in one of these little meeting rooms hosting this webinar for you guys. So using a LoRaWAN solution, the FM team here at the university were able to deploy 4 gateways across all 4 wings of this huge building and deployed countless of these sensors across the whole office. So now we have all of these points in a single office that used to have one temperature sensor. And we've actually already experienced that making a big difference to us, because an actuator a couple of weeks ago malfunctioned right above us, right above my desk, and it got really, really warm really quickly. So, you know, we are in an energy crisis, and having the window open while you've got central heating dumping heat above you is just maybe not the best of ideas right now. That alarm went off very quickly because that heat did not have to permeate from one end of the room to the other before this singular sensor could pick it up. We knew that something was off because although the boiler was fine, although the air ducts were fine, the actual temperature inside of the office was not. And because of the granularity of our visibility system here, the university's FM team were able to respond to that very quickly. And you can see that the quality of the data is really consistent. So although this building is breeze blocks and various linings and multiple walls, and it's, you know, solid walls, the LoRaWAN signal has absolutely no problems permeating all of this. And these devices, and even smaller ones like this LCCRS one, are smattered all over the walls here, and they are very subtle. They don't need any conduits pulling into them, and they can be repositioned at any and all times as needed. So here's a little quote from the head of facilities here, and I really would like you to pay attention to the quote, to fill in missing information, because as well as being, you know, financially viable, if you tally up all the costs, that it actually makes so much sense to use this. It also means that a LoRaWAN solution is far more dynamic than a traditional solution, because very few systems are finalized at the point of design. I'm sure all of you have experienced this, where 3 months after a system is deployed, the end user turns around and says, right, this is great. However, we didn't think about this one use case where we needed to actually control this, and it would be so useful if we could have a sensor in this wing of this room because we have something here that needs monitoring. And then, okay, so we get the drawings out, you draw more cables, you plan when your engineers can go out to site to do all this, plan for disruptions, when can we find an opening where we can go and install these sensors. And then once again, your end user has they've got the option to either I compromise and I just say, that's fine, maybe I won't get this visibility, or they take the costs, take the breakdown of their operations, and they find a way to sneak in this retrofit of a retrofit. But with a LoRaWAN solution, you are able to just add devices to your existing network because the infrastructure is already in place. And if you need a sensor or any device to pull data in, to control something, if you want a LoRaWAN actuator, a LoRaWAN switch, a gateway, something that turns things off and on, controls both ways, you now have all the wireless infrastructure where at least you don't have to worry about all the cabling and all the disruptions that come with it. So if we compare it to a traditional solution, traditional BMS, we've got the controllers and all the standard licensing that goes with that, but everything above that is very different, because whereas you could get your days of site engineers, your rolls of cable, your split conduits, all your shielding, all those things planned that I'm sure are giving Trans right now a massive headache, you can just connect your Jace to a Wattsense gateway, and that's it in terms of getting your devices able to integrate into your BMS. So you've got a drastically reduced engineering time, but just as importantly, you've got a solution that is able to evolve as your end users' needs evolve. So when they come to you in a year's time and say, we're changing the fabric of this building slightly, you are able to tell them that will not affect your system. We will send one engineer for half a day to reposition the sensors. And that is a game changer for the operations and project management of facilities, and the response times that they can get to new and evolving information using these wireless LoRaWAN networks is just one less thing that they need to worry about. So this is why we really believe that deploying these kinds of networks in large enterprises where you've got many sites and your facilities team just cannot be everywhere at once, and they need to respond to emergencies, they need to plan all the maintenance, they need to plan all the communications between end user and subcontractors. They've got enough going on where you can either overlook things going wrong, or you need to have huge levels of staff to constantly monitor, control, patrol, survey, whatever. But here, we've got technology to do that for you. So this is already happening. As you've seen, we're going to be doing more of these webinars with various case studies, but we are frankly really pleased with how the university has handled this, where they've taken this quite new technology and they've adopted it rapidly, and it's bringing results very quickly. So we will only be seeing more of this. And I think we can now pass over to answering any of your questions that you might have had across the webinar right here. So if we take a look at some of these questions. Antoine, I can see a question about LoRaWAN to go into LoRaWAN for control purposes.
This is the question from
Dominique.
In question or in chat? Sorry.
Sorry, it's in the questions.
Can you install several LoRaWAN gateway within a building and have yours and devices going to a LoRaWAN server such as LoRaWAN, and then transfer these to Wattsense hub for control purposes? It seems yes. Yeah, Brianda is replying very fast in typing. So yes, the answer is yes. Just afterward, we have a question from Rui. What is the max distance from the Wattsense to the LoRaWAN sensors in a building with concrete walls, and how many LoRaWAN sensors can I have to my box? The max distance is 5 kilometers from the Wattsense to LoRaWAN sensors in a building. You can have as many LoRa sensors that you want. The limit is the point in the box. So Brianda also add one article out of our website to go a bit more in detail. Same question regarding the point that could support the gateway. We can support 10,000 points maximum. Also, yeah, another question from Rui. Could we have LoRaWAN and M-bus at the same time in Wattsense? Sorry, the answer is yes, and that could also. So sorry, the answer is yes. You only need to have the subscription that allows you to have both protocol on the Wattsense unit. That's also make me jump to a comment from the chat from Morgan, who say, I did not understand what is the purpose of configuring a new gateway. And this is it. To the interest is to collect the data from different protocol and to send it to another one. For example, MBus plus Modbus and LoRaWAN, and transfer it to BACnet IP, for example, for your existing BMS. Okay. Other question from David. In a traditional LoRaWAN installation, we can improve our overall coverage by simply installing additional gateways. How can this be achieved with the Wattsense unit? So this is also one important topic that come very often in the question. You can improve the coverage by adding an antenna to the Wattsense unit or connecting a LoRaWAN amplifier. So that's something we have some reference and some features that we have to fulfill, but that's quite easy to do. Can we connect the Wattsense gateway to AWS IoT Core? Question from QMars. Yes, you can connect. You can connect it with MQTT. Other question from Sean. Is this just a monitoring solution with IQ Vision, for example, or can it be used to drive control as well? You can drive more devices. The data can either be sent to the server by API RESTful or MQTT, and or to be converted locally in BACnet IP or Modbus IP. Mike, if you see some question that we do not reply yet, please feel free to take.
Yeah, Brianna's doing a wonderful job.
For sure.
So it's I think all the ones have been quite covered. Florian's question about using two Wattsense box gateways is quite an interesting one, because although I don't think we can use relay, although Antoine would be the one to know about it, we've used multiple Wattsense hubs on a single network, which, although they do not connect to the same sensor, they will pick up the sensor that's configured to them.
Yeah.
And that way, without duplicating your data, you can still have multiple Wattsense hubs, creating a single LoRaWAN network that is all being picked up by your control system.
Okay, and we had also some comment in chat. Okay, we already answered regarding the antenna. Gateway. Okay, the comment from Florian already answered. So regarding the two Wattsense box as a repeater.
From Alan about the additional gateways, but the answer being an amplifier. I assume that means the antenna response that boosts the range of the device. Is the amplifier at the hub end or put out in the field? So this antenna will be installed on the hub itself. So you would attach a larger antenna to the device itself, and all the sensors would be as they were, but your signal quality will just be stronger. Scott's question about metal cladding and metal framing. Franz, do you have experience with installing it in metal buildings?
Technically, it does affect it, but since the range goes up to a few kilometers or miles, it doesn't really make much of a difference. For example, we've tested sensors, like we put it in a fridge. So you can imagine a fridge as a metal box, and we've got range up to a couple of kilometers. So as for our use case and testing, we haven't had much problem about that yet. No.
I think to add to that, Scott, for your question, one of the key features of LoRaWAN that is building our confidence in the protocol is that it is so incredibly overkill in terms of its technical capability for our BMS application that all these parameters that technically impact its range do not actually impact the use case or the user experience. Unless you are really maxing out the protocol by having a single network span kilometers and kilometers, you are very unlikely to encounter range and signal quality issues across the kinds of use case that we've spoken about, even across large complex buildings on a sprawling campus like ours. Antoine, there's a question, config in which sensors can be supported by 2 units. It is my understanding that a sensor can be picked up by 1 unit.
But it seems that we are type config in which sensor can be supported by 2 units. So if one fails, we had several times this comment. No, it's not possible to have 1 sensors in different Wattsense unit in more than 1 Wattsense unit. But we noticed that we have this comment a few times and can investigate, but for now the answer is no. Is the limitation the number of data points only on the hub, or is still required by number of sub-channels?
Tom, to touch on your question, the Wattsense hub comes in a few different flavors with different points on it. So it's a bit of a licensing thing. The maximum one with a 10,000 pointer is I think, Antoine, you can definitely verify this, that is the most that the hub can do right now while still ensuring good data quality.
Yes.
However, if you do all 10,000, you can get a much smaller one. Because if you can imagine a single network with 10,000 in-out points across miles is a very is a use case that isn't always necessary.
Mm.
Would I be correct in saying that to maintain a single box solution for LoRaWAN, such as the Wattsense solution across a large building estate, we would need to install multiple gateways to maintain a private closed network? So Alan, I think this depends on what you exactly want to do with that data out of the Wattsense. So if you are integrating that into a BMS, unless you are deploying this in a large building estate made out of lead, I think a single gateway has the chance of giving you the coverage that you need. And then that single private closed network will encompass the entire range and the entire signal range of that single device, depending on the type of antenna that you add on it, with the limitation really being the integration between the Wattsense hub and whatever your controller or whatever your data structure is once you've got that data connected. Yeah. So, Corey, your question, Franz just mentioned that you would see it as the gateway going offline here. because yeah, the way it works is
so in the end, because your Wattsense is connected to your PACnet device, could be a PLC. So the PLC sees the gateway is gone offline.
Okay. If you guys have any more questions, if you want to go to our website, forestrock.co.uk, follow Wattsenses as well, find us on social media or just get in touch with us for demos, pricings, catalogs, anything that you might want to use to see if a LoRaWAN solution will be something that your clients will be interested in, that you can show them. Get in touch with us. We'd love to hear from you. And I think if there are no more questions, if there are any more questions, get in touch with us directly. We can always pick up the phone, give you guys a one-on-one proper answer to one of our engineers, get in touch with our support. Antoine, Anna, and Brianda, thank you so much for your time showing us.
Thank you. You're welcome. Thank you, Brianda and Anna.
Yeah, just how much work Wattsense have put into making such an emerging technology as usable as possible and making the configuration process, you know, completely cloud-based and making that solution something that the integrator community can really adopt, use, and exploit and push to its limits to design some really new solution that weren't possible before. So I hope this webinar has been useful. We will be releasing more dates talking about energy management through LoRaWAN metering, as well as air quality focused ones. So stay tuned. We will be releasing those dates very soon. Thank you very much for spending the better part of an hour with us. I hope you've all gained something from this. And for any more questions, yeah, get in touch with either ourselves or Wattsense, and all of these devices are all available from forestrock.co.uk. So come have a browse, take a look, and hopefully they can work for your solution as well. Great. Thanks so much, everyone. Antoine.
Thank you, Mike.
Right.
It'll be a pleasure to talk with you again.
Enjoy the rest of your day, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye.